Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. Aquadam.net. Give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, having to deal with the insurance company, not to mention the memories that are lost that you can never replace. To those who live in flood-prone and hurricane-prone areas, which is just around the corner, prepare now. Hurricane season is right around the corner. Visit Aquadam.net to see how they can help you prepare to avoid flood damage this season and every season thereafter. An Aquadam could be another tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. A cofferdam, using water to control water, that can protect your home, your business, your church, your neighborhood, like a dam, but without the beavers. Give Aquadam a call at 707-764-2119, 707-764-2119, or look them up online at aquadam.net. They're also on Facebook at Aquadam Inc., or call or email them today. They can help you out. Give them a call. Tell them Opperman Report sent you. Opperman Report, that's 10% off the price to anyone who mentions the Opperman Report.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. And you can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting, either through my website, emailrevealer.com, which I hardly ever check the emails over there, or you can email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure to check out our Patreon. Put up about 8 hours of new content each month on the Patreon, the Opperman Report Patreon. So be sure and check that out. There's a lot of good content in there. Plus, all the old members section shows are slowly going up there, too, as well. But the archives you can always find are free. You go to Spreaker.com. If you're listening right now, most likely you're listening on Spreaker. And also, too, if you're catching this show now, because a lot of stuff hasn't been going up to YouTube, if you're seeing the show on YouTube and you say, oh, my God, Ed's back. He's back. No, Ed never went anywhere. YouTube left, not me. Okay? I've been putting out steady content. Okay? Every night we play a repeat. Okay? That's how it works. Every night I play a repeat on Spreaker and iHeart and all that kind of stuff. Every night I put out 1 hour of new content on AM/FM radio Monday to Friday, either 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. in California, Nevada, Utah, and Florida. So, and then I put up 2 hours, 2 hours of new content on Friday night on the internet, on the podcast, and then actually 3 hours on Friday night, and then Patreon. So I haven't gone anywhere. So if you're just finding my show and you think I'm back all of a sudden, you have to go to Spreaker and check all the shows I've been uploading, because I've uploaded about a month worth of shows since we got the boot on YouTube. It seems like a lot of people are suddenly getting the boot on YouTube. But some of them, I'm kind of glad they are. They're kind of nuts and fraudsters and hoaxers and jerks. Just did a couple of shows. One with Anthony Spurl, who's a private investigator. He was a private investigator for Bill Menser, who was the hitman who killed Roy Raden and the Cotton Club murders with Robert Evans and all that kind of stuff like that. We had him on for an hour. It's always good to talk to Tony. He knows a lot of stuff. A lot more than he lets out. And he's all mixed up right now with the Manson family and ashes and all kind of stuff. So I brought him back, to fill up some time Thanksgiving week. It's tough to get guests on Thanksgiving week, let me tell you. By the way, happy Thanksgiving, okay, if you're out there. I remember when we first started doing the show, we used to do a little Thanksgiving Day thankful show, because my show used to be on Thursdays afternoons when I first started in internet radio. 8 years ago, right? It was right. It was just about 8 years ago right now. This time of the year is when I started, September. Probably had an anniversary. I missed it. I didn't even think to do that. It's hard to keep up with things going on in my life right now. As a matter of fact, I even put out a little notice earlier today saying that tune in tonight, because I could be having a emotional breakdown. So what I decided to do was tape the show in advance, in case I have a breakdown. I'll edit it out. You want to hear it? I'm moving it. Maybe I'll leave it in. So stay tuned. Then also another interview I did this week. We had Mark Shaw come back, who's done all that work about the Dorothy Kilgallen murder. And he's about to have another book come out in April. So you can order pre-orders now. And it's all about the murder of Marilyn Monroe. And he pins it directly on Bobby Kennedy. Now, a couple of minor things we disagree about in that story, but I've talked to a lot of people about the murder of Marilyn Monroe. I even spoke to, at length, off the air, someone who was with her the weekend before she was killed. So, and actually has the last photographs of her. Buddy Greco, might as well say it. Talked to Buddy Greco about the death of Marilyn Monroe. Okay, so what's going on in the news this week? A couple of things I want to report to you. And then I want to tell you a story about a guy named Richie. I'll call him Richie Caruso. Okay? It's not his real name. And unfortunately, I just found out when I was doing research to tell you the story about Richie. I found that he died. He passed away in 2013. And it seems like he passed away alone. He died alone. Because there weren't a lot of comments on his obituary and stuff like that. Didn't seem like any current or recent friends or family around him. I'm going to tell you a tragic story. And I'm going to tell you about the story about him is because this week I repeated a show where I tell the story about my beloved attorney from Staten Island, Richard LaRosa, who passed away. Let me fix that. Who cares? Who passed away, and it was a mentor to me, and I told that story. And while I was telling that story, I said that I was introduced to him by this other guy. Oh, and I got to tell you about him one day. So I got flooded with a bunch of emails this week. Say, hey, tell us about the other guy. Who's that guy? Tell us about him. So that's Richie Caruso I'm going to tell you about. It's not his real name. But before we get to that, a couple of things in the news going on here. One thing, we did a whole show last week about Dominion election machines. and I did some reporting on it myself. And there was some big developments this week with this Sidney Powell. Okay, this woman Sidney Powell, who's the attorney for Flynn, General Flynn. I forget his first name at the moment. General Flynn, anyway. But what do you call it? She's his attorney, and she's kind of an odd woman. You know, I even think I told you last week. She was at that press conference with Rudy Giuliani where he was dripping the hair dye from his head, and I got all these messages, people telling me that she's into witchcraft about this. Now, she was at the press conference, and then a couple of days later, there was an incident with Tucker Carlson where she was supposed to go on Tucker Carlson, and he kept saying, well, you know, show us the evidence, you know, show us the proof of what you have here. So she provided him with an affidavit that she wrote herself, her own affidavit, which really isn't evidence or proof of it, especially by an attorney. You can't submit an affidavit, then you become a witness. You can't try the case anymore. Because I've actually had that happen, where a lawyer in litigation became a witness and had to withdraw as the attorney and testify as a witness in the case. So she was supposed to go on Tucker Carlson. He was demanding proof, demanding evidence, and she hung up on him and canceled the appearance, saying, well, this guy's being rude to me. I don't want any part of him. And then she offered him this affidavit and gave him the phone number of a statistician. Statistics. And a guy who's trying to claim that it's statistically impossible for Trump to have lost this thing. Now, what you need to know is, okay, like in family court, you cannot use statistics as evidence, okay? Because if you did, every father would get custody, because it's millions of studies out there, and not even studies, but surveys, like, when you look at people's histories, is that the children always turn out better off if they're raised by the father than if raised by the mother. Okay, and there's when they have a group of they don't get pregnant. They finish high school. They don't get pregnant. They're less likely to be sexually abused, and they're less likely to commit petty crimes like shoplifting, get arrested for shoplifting, stuff like that. Okay, if they live with the father. Now, the second best thing is I think it's if they live with a father who's remarried is the number one thing, and then the second one is the father who doesn't remarry, father with a girlfriend. Every combination, if they live with the mother, it's best if they live with the mother alone with no male in the house at all, or two, if the mother remarries, and third is the worst, is if the mother is dating several men, bringing several men into the house. Because then the odds that the kids are going to get molested just go through the roof. It's just it's almost like more likely than not. So that's one of the reasons why they don't allow statistics in family court. But they will allow statistics in court, like in car accidents and stuff like that, and bullet trajectory and things like that. But I don't know how they're going to use it with bring it in regarding to voting ballot statistics. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, I'll leave that up to her. So this is what she tried to present to Tucker Carlson. Okay, and finally she didn't go on the show, and Tucker Carlson says, well, we reached out to the other members of the legal team and asked them if they've seen the proof and if they've seen the evidence, and they came back and said no. And then right after that, this woman Ellis, and Rudy Giuliani put out a statement saying that she is not part of the legal defense team. She's practicing law on her own. This is the phrase they use. Okay, they put this out like a 7, 8 o'clock at night. She's practicing law on her own. She does not represent Trump's legal team, and she does not represent Donald Trump personally as an attorney. They put this out, and everybody on Twitter has a heart attack. They're saying, what the hell's going on? What does this mean? No explanation. It was urgent enough that they had to put out this statement to distance themselves from this woman, but that didn't have all their stories, all their ducks in a row. Lynn Wood, who's also representing involved in these litigations with Sidney Powell, didn't know what to say. Okay, he had no. Everything was like dead air from all these people, for like hours and hours and hours, until finally Lynn Wood put out a bizarre statement that she's defending we the people. No, she's not defending it. Yeah, a bizarre thing. But what it turned out to be was, when you examined all the facts, was that she actually didn't have any proof or evidence. They asked the other members of the legal team, and they didn't have it. And they told Tucker Carlson they didn't see it. And basically, she's out there on her own. Now, oddly enough, Trump's tweeting again, sometimes talking about Dominion software and things. So, who knows what's going on? He has said he's going to leave the White House once the Electoral College votes. So I guess that's a little bit less nerves and jitteriness we have to deal with. Another development out there is we woke up today and we found that an Iranian nuclear scientist was assassinated. And how it went down was he was visiting relatives, and a pickup truck in front of him exploded, and then a bunch of guys jumped out of different trucks and shot him all up and shot up his car, killed him. Assassination. And Iran says, well, it looks like Israeli Mossad's behind this. It says all the signs of them. And it does kind of explain why Pompeo recently and Netanyahu were meeting together in the Middle East. I believe they were meeting at the AEU or Dubai, one of those countries. I forget which one. Saudi Arabia, perhaps. They were all meeting there together. Very bizarre, So I guess they came up with this assassination plot and got this guy. Really interesting. A way that this is the way they're using to deal with the situation. Because I actually met a guy once who was in the CIA, and what his job was to go around the world and make contact with these nuclear scientists and bribe them, hire them, and pay them that they wouldn't pursue this kind of nuclear bomb research and development. So I guess they couldn't get to this guy, so they got to him a different way. Okay, so what are you going to do? Okay, so I had posted earlier today on Twitter and Facebook that I'm such an emotional mess today that I didn't think I could make it through the show tonight. And I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. And I wish I could almost just spend the whole night talking about it, because I really have no one to talk to down here in Florida. I know really no one down here, that I could really, not like back in Vegas, where I could, reach out to friends and stuff like that and meet up with them and talk to them in person. We just don't have that here, And it's just very, very lonely. It's very, very isolating. Now, Vic's about to leave again for D.C. for college in January. So now I won't even have that. And the emotional stressors down here of dealing with my family, my father and my family down here, is just overwhelming for me, And as a matter of fact, I was just such a mess today that I was thinking of, going to a psychiatric hospital, and seeking some kind of help, It's just hard to get over this and get through this situation down here. But I'm feeling a little bit better now, okay? And we're going to try and get through this. My greatest concern is, okay, this stage of my life. First of all, my physical health is just a mess. Okay, I got this torn bicep, and I'm just getting more and more out of shape every day, and then flabby. And I'm just disgusted with myself. Okay, and then all this emotional stress and I'm dealing with here, and the loneliness, and the uncertainty of COVID and the things everybody's dealing with, all this crap we got. But my concern is, I'm 58 years old, and I still have some good years left into me to accomplish some things in life, And I've done quite a bit in the past 5 years. I think people would agree. Just my work on the Epstein stuff. Oh, you could look at that. And, quite some achievements there. But I've been able to achieve these things in my life through focusing my attention on my goals and working my butt off, you know. And right now down here, if I stay down here under these conditions, I'm not going to have that focus. I'm not going to accomplish anything, okay? And all my best years can be behind me. So, you know, very, very concerned about this. And definitely the quality of the show will just not maintain. You know, even I don't think the quality in the past few months has been that great. But it will not. It'll go down, okay? And that would really disappoint me. So, you know, I repeated that show about my attorney, who was a big influence in my life. You know, and I talk about it. In fact, I never would have became a private investigator. He introduced me to the first private investigator I ever worked for. And the way I found that attorney was I told the story, and I says, oh, yeah, I met him through this other guy. And boy, I got to tell you about him one day, so I'm going to tell you about him. Grew up in Staten Island, right, in the town of Annandale. And there was a guy there a couple of years older than me who used to hang out down there in the Annandale Park and sell bags of marijuana. Okay? So he started purchasing his marijuana from me to sell it down there in the little park there. It wasn't a significant outlet for me, but it was one of them. Now, the odd thing is, okay, he got married very young and he had 2 kids, okay? He was only like 19 years old. And the odd thing is that the kid wound up becoming a school security guard at McKee High School while I was a student there, okay? While I was a student there, he comes to work as my security guard, school security, which was odd enough. And I thought he was older, but I found out it was like his first job. He was only a couple years older than me. And he was able to get that job because he had a relative, you know, had some connection with the school. And even more hard to believe, that guy was a heroin user at the time. Okay? And a heavy smoker and all that kind of stuff. No drug test, I suppose, right? And I guess no criminal background check either, because I believe he did. He had to have had an extensive criminal background, because he is introducing me to this criminal lawyer. So that's odd enough, okay? All right. Then here I am, I'll go to school, and the school security guard works for me. Okay, selling pot, which is crazy enough to begin with, right? But then, even more crazy, there was one day, too, when I had a problem with this guy in my neighborhood, and he went to school with me, too, and I knew I would be, I had a big problem with him on my doorstep in front of my house. And I said, I'm going to get you tomorrow. I'm going to kick your butt tomorrow, when I see you. He was with a couple of other guys. He was like, oh, yeah. Okay, but then the next day, man, I'm in class. And I knew right after that class, I'm going to see this kid in the hallway and I'm going to jump on him and beat the crap out of him. And there was some kind of disruption in the class, and the teacher was losing control. And she was saying, well, yeah, everyone's going to stay after class until this is all settled. And I said, what? No way. I got to grab this guy out of the hallway. So I see Richie walking by the door, and I wave him in. I say, hey, man, get in here. Fix this situation here. Right? And then, so then the bell rings. I go out. I see this guy. I jump on him. I pound him. And I don't know. I guess I was such an intense guy that even people broke up the fight. But no, I was never reprimanded by the teachers or anything like that, or by the school, and certainly not by my own security guard who was working for me at home. So that's wild enough. Then and by the way, too, Richie and his wife were best friends. You know how I tell that story? People have heard the story about me talking about that woman I was in love with. And we moved to Vegas together, and then the kids would leave the toys out, and I'd go pick up the toys, and all that stuff. The French Foreign Legion story. Her and her husband were best friends with Richie and his wife. Okay, and she's another one who got married very early. When I first met her, and I can remember the day I first laid eyes on this woman, I fell in love with her. She was wearing this blue silk wraparound dress, in the back seat of this car, and my just jaw dropped when I saw she was so beautiful, and I was talking to her, and she was, dating my friend. They were like very seriously dating. And I was 16 and she was 15, but she told me she was 19. So I says, okay, I'll never have a chance with this girl. She's 3 years older than me. So otherwise I would have. But then later on, we wound up living together in a very passionate relationship. But she and her husband were best friends. with Richie and his wife. So there was that connection too. One day, we find out, and now, Richie had already introduced me to the lawyer. Okay, and I went there and I met with the lawyer through Richie. So we had that connection there too. And what started happening, is one day we saw this car crashed. I think it was Highland Boulevard. And the car was flipped over, and it was Richie's car. And, in those days, you couldn't look up on the internet. You had to wait for the newspaper to come out the next day or call around your friends and try and find out what happened. And we found out that Richie, who had his license suspended, was driving the car. He was probably high. And they crashed the car, and they flipped over. And he didn't want to get caught driving the car. So he took his wife, who was next to him in the passenger seat, and he moved her into the driver's seat so he could say that she was driving. And due to the internal injuries and all that stuff like that, she wound up dying where he lived. Okay? And he had 2 little kids, So that great lawyer I told you about, Rich LaRosa, got him out of that. Okay? He did no time for that. He was arrested, but he did no time for that. He got off that case. And he said to me one day, he says, well, I got all his tickets. Don't ask me how I did it, Ed. But I got all his tickets. He squashed all his tickets, So that by law, his license wasn't suspended at the time because he fixed it. He fixed the tickets so that his license wasn't suspended at the time that he had the accident. Even though it was, he unsuspended it. Okay, I guess like a little technicality of the law worked it out. But I remember the day that we were down there bailing him out, or it was his hearing, I guess it was, and I was down there with him, and I remember him running out of the courtroom and running up to the probation department to talk to his probation officer. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. What did I know? I'm 18 years old, 17 years old. And clearly, looking back now, he was running up there because he was a police informant. He was working as an informant for the cops, and part of his deal was to rat people out. And he ran straight from the courtroom to give up all his friends and coworkers and co-associates. Now, my life experience, now I can look at that and see exactly what went on, but at the time I didn't understand. So, Richie, now he's a young guy. I think he lost his job around that time with the school. And he's raising these 2 kids. And he always managed to rent these little houses and stuff like that. And he never had an apartment. Always rented these little houses. As a matter of fact, you know whose house he rented years later? Ricky Schroeder's house. Okay? And Ricky Schroeder was just in the news this week because he donated money to that Kyle Rittenhour, and now people are threatening Ricky Schroeder. So when Ricky Schroeder was a kid living on Staten Island, his house, it was a very nice house. It was like 4 bedrooms. When you went in the front door, there was carpeting on the walls in the hallway when you entered. Okay? I don't know if it was Ricky Schroeder's childhood house. I don't know if Ricky Schroeder put that up there. His parents put that up there or not. But it was up there at the time when I went to check it out. So Richie had these 2 little kids, and then he would have these girlfriend/babysitter types who would stay with him and watch the kids for him, while he was different jobs and working. I think he might have still... I forget what kind of work he was doing, but he was always doing a little bit of pot and drugs and stuff like that. And his house was always like a crash pad. People always there. I remember one time I had another problem with some guys where I was meeting a guy, and some people came to ambush him and tried to rip him off. And it was because I was talking about it, saying, I got to go meet this guy later on. And I thought maybe Richie had done this, or maybe these other guys were hanging out at Richie's house had done this. I had to go to the house in the middle of us and confront these guys. So his heroin addiction got worse and worse and worse. And even though he was older than me, he was born in 1960, 2 years older than me. And I was, like his boss and almost like a father figure to him in a lot of ways. And his kids saw me as like a father figure to them too as well. I would always make sure the kids were being taken care of on their birthdays and stuff like that. We'd bring them birthday presents, and on Christmas time, we used to do this thing back in those times because I had a limousine used to drive me around a limo, and then we had my brother-in-law's Ford Bronco. I think it was a Bronco, yeah. And we had another car. We had Bob's car too, and we would have all the cars filled up with toys. And we would go around, all the guys who worked for me, go to their houses and bring presents to their kids and their families and stuff like that. It was right before Christmas time. And so he always, and there were times too when he had no presents for his kids for Christmas. And he had no toys for them for their birthday. And the only thing they got was from me. So when things started getting worse and worse with Richie, and I'd have to go over to his house and yell at him. Or we'd be fighting over the phone and stuff like that. Like his kids would be like apologizing to me and worried, oh, is my dad in trouble, And I, no, don't worry. We're just talking. Yeah. But I was such a crazy hothead back in those days. You can't imagine. You really can't imagine. I'm looking back in my own life, my own mortality. What disparaging paths we've taken. What such separate paths me and Richie took, in our lives. I guess the next thing that happened with me and Rich was one of his girlfriends, who's dead now today too. She had an incredible life story herself. Her mother was a heroin addict, and she actually. Guy went to prison for coming to kill her. He was going to come kill her. And cops arrested the guy on the way over there to kill her. And he had, duct tape and rope and everything like that, and a knife and weapons in his car. It's like premeditated murder. Hey. Her brother, too, was involved in an ice pick murder at the projects over there, the South Beach housing projects. And actually... they went into this neighbor's house and stabbed her up with a nice ice pick, this little old lady robbing her house. And the brother didn't actually get arrested, but everybody says he was there because his best friend got arrested for it. And there was a trail of blood going from one apartment to the other apartment. And they went out to the hallway and took a mop and mopped up the blood. But the cops could see the trail of mop blood marks from one apartment to the other. So they went right there knocking on the door, and they busted this guy. What a cast of characters, man. The next thing that's happened with Richie was, because whenever he would get in trouble, I'd always bail him out. I always made sure that everybody got bailed out, okay? And one thing you learn in life is that when you're bailing a guy out of jail, you get him out of jail, you keep him out of jail, they love you forever, man. They're very loyal. And they love you. They'll do anything for you. So one of the times I went down to get him out, he wound up going to like a drug rehab. He had to do like 18 months in a drug rehab or something, like 9 months or something like that. And what happened was me and his girlfriend started talking on the phone every night and started fooling around and going out together. And so I kind of betrayed him there, you might say. Okay, but I was a wild kid, just took anything I wanted, So I kind of betrayed him there, but we were still friends, even though he wasn't working for me anymore. We had a falling out one time, and he tells me on the phone that he doesn't need me anymore. He's on his own now. He doesn't need that Opperman to watch out for, right? And all this kind of stuff. And what he did was, there's a couple of spots on Staten Island I didn't control. One was CSI College, and the other was Wolf's Pond Park. And these were controlled by the Colombo family, Greg Scarpa Jr., and from Brooklyn. They used to sell the marijuana at those two spots, and they would sell Thai weed, Thai stick, Cambodian Thai stick, right? They used to come in these shipping containers from Cambodia. I didn't like that stuff, I just didn't like it, It was like sticky and brown, my stuff was good and green and fresh, So they had those two spots under control, and I had pretty much everywhere else, okay? And they never bothered me. I never bothered them. There was a little talk about that they were going to try and extort me one time, and I went to meet up with them in Brooklyn, not realizing that their plan was they were going to start extorting me. And when I went up to meet with them, I brought with me a couple of off-duty cops who happened to work for me at the time, right? And also, too, this is a crazy story. I didn't want to. I had this dynamite. I had gotten dynamite from these guys in Tennessee. Oh, do I want to tell these stories? I don't know. I might put this away in the member section. But anyway, in my naivete, we're talking about this and that. And I say, hey, by the way, man, can you guys sell dynamite? If I got you dynamite, could you sell it? And they goes, dynamite? What are you talking about? And I said, here, look, I've got dynamite. He says, I can get as much as you want from Tennessee. Yeah. And so then, when they said, this guy's crazy. Plus, he's got comps with him. We don't want to touch this guy. So they left me alone. They didn't bother me. But what happened was, when me and Richie had that falling out that day over the phone, in his young brilliance, he goes down to Wolf's Pond Park and he starts trying to sell down there. And they, called me up and they said, hey, Ed, your guy's down here. What's going on? This isn't your type of move. You never bother us. We never bother you. And I said, oh, well, don't you know? I said, he don't need me anymore. He's on his own. You guys do whatever you want. Okay. And they beat the crap out of him. They beat the crap out of him so bad he actually came to see me. And I told him, I said, hey, man, they called me. Okay? All this could have been prevented. So I think that was one of the last times. There was another incident. But I'm not going to talk about it. Because it's just a little too out there. On many different levels. So I'm not going to talk about it. So, pretty much went our own ways. And especially, when I stopped, left that kind of business and I became a Christian and straightened out my life, paths would cross each other, but his life took a very dark turn. There was one time where he was living in a tent in somebody's backyard, and they were using a hairdryer, he and one of his girlfriends. And then another incident happened was his girlfriend had a teenage daughter who was rebellious and having criminal problems herself, and she was sent off to this detention school, and so she was up there, and one of the boys who was up there at this camp detention thing said to her, hey, let's go smoke a joint. And they went underneath the bleachers of the football stadium there, and he killed her. Okay? Just stop and think, tragedy, one thing after another in this guy's life. From an early age, the earliest age, right out of high school. And, gets up, this girl pregnant with 2 kids, they get married, trying to do the right thing, get a little house, living there. And then, tragic car accident. Hey. Stepdaughter murdered. So, then, when I'm in the mall with the Beaver Company, comes by one day. It's such a larger-than-life personality. Tough guy, too. I just set him out to do things for me, And even though, betrayed him, stealing his girlfriend from him, and, cheating on him with his girlfriend because she was still his girlfriend when he was in there. She was still going to visit him, stuff like that. He goes to work for this rap group and selling their T-shirts and stuff like that. A couple of rap groups, and he made a good name for himself doing that. But still, the guy had a history of being a police informant, so you got to wonder what was going on there. The next thing that happens is, and it's not that too long, it's like 2007. He's got a house they're trying to refurbish in Midland Beach on Staten Island, and a local crazy kid sets fire to the house and burns it down. That's the last thing I saw about this guy in the paper. They didn't even have insurance on the house. And then I go looking, to do some more research right now before I do the show, and I see he passed away in 2013. Okay. So 7 years ago. So the guy died, what was that? That would be about 53 years old. Doesn't say the cause of death. And also, too, when you look up his obituary online, there's only 2 comments from people. One is someone who knew his wife, the mother of his kids that died in that car accident. And the other one's, too, is talking to his kids, I met his daughter, too. She also got pregnant at a young age. I met her, too, at the mall. Beautiful young girl. She remembered me. Yeah. So, that's the story about the guy who introduced me to that lawyer that was such a great mentor to me. So here's this guy, if you think about it, really, that's probably the most successful thing he's done in his life is make that connection between me and the lawyer and then me getting into the PI business. That's his greatest achievement. I hate to say it that way, but... And once again, it's a whole tragedy of drug addiction and, chasing after what seems like easy money. Life of crime. Hey. Anyway, I guess I shouldn't feel too bad about my own problems and my own misery here, There's this guy, he's got 2 kids that lost their dad, 53 years old, outlasted by 7 years. Life can get very real hard balls, And I guess, maybe if he hadn't turned to heroin, things would have been better off for him. And it's kind of a shame, too, that, we were totally out of touch there at the end, but it had such a big impact on his life as well. But what are you going to do? I want to give a little shout-out there to Donnie Mays from Dynamic Solutions 2, one of my old sponsors. He's been helping me fix my credit. And we've gone from, like, the 500s to 714. So he's really doing a great job. If you need to get a hold of him, he's going to be putting together another website and another ad for the show. But I can't recommend his work enough. He's really doing miracles over here, getting stuff removed. And he's very persistent, very with these guys. He's doing great work. Oh, you know what? I keep forgetting, too. I got to record that commercial for the Silk City Hot Sauce. But if you go to silkcityhotsauce.com, and you order with the promo code ED, E-D, you get 15% off, and they're going to throw in a free bottle of hot sauce for you, too. So check that out. I haven't gotten around to recording an ad for them, too. I'll be sure to do that this week. It's just been really, really hectic. And I tell you, every year, Thanksgiving, right? I'm a firm believer that you only need to know or make up or write a certain number of jokes. You can just reuse them all the time. Okay? You can reuse them all the time, man. Like one thing I always say is when I go to a coffee shop or something like that, and they say, "Do you want your receipt?" I said, "I trust you." That's okay. I trust you. And sometimes people get it, and sometimes they don't. But I think it's a very funny joke, and I use it all day long, right? Because it's new to the person you tell it to. Now, fascinatingly enough, every single Thanksgiving, I got a regular joke I use on Thanksgiving. Right? Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll post. I said, how long does it take for a turkey to defrost? I've had this thing out of the freezer for about 2 hours now. And it still seems frozen. And all these people, half the people know me by now. They know my yearly joke. I do it every year. But you have no idea how many people think I'm like a stupid idiot that doesn't know how to defrost a turkey. I'm 58 years old. I've probably cooked more turkeys than half these people, But, I do this every year, the same joke. And then I'll come back a little while later, and they'll say, "Oh, you got to put it, Ed, go order from Chinese," something like that. And I said, "No, I'm hitting it with the hairdryer now. I'm trying to get it to defrost fast. I'm hitting it with the hairdryer." Same joke every year. Another couple of jokes I use all the time, too, is... when people on Facebook say, if you could rid the world of one thing, what would it be? I always say Facebook memes. Okay, which is a great joke, right? And then lastly, whenever somebody talks about having a dream, they tell you they had a dream. Let me tell you about this dream I had last night. And I'll tell you about the dream. Well, they'll post like on social media about it. Oh, I had this wild dream last night that I was, making out with Frank Sinatra, whatever. I always say, I had the craziest dream last night that I was eating a giant marshmallow. And when I woke up, my pillow was gone. Okay? So you only need to know a couple of jokes, and just use them over and over and over again in life, As long as, you can make new friends every now and then, which I haven't done so great down here in Florida, making friends, I never forget it. I got this other thing going on. I keep telling you guys about my torn bicep. And if anybody has any suggestions out there how I can get some kind of insurance or surgery for this thing, man, because I don't qualify for Medicaid down here in Florida. They just don't, unless you have a disability. So if you're an expert on that, man, someone in a hospital, someone who does surgery, please hook me up, man, because I got to fix this thing. It's getting worse and worse. It's so painful. Some days I could barely lift my arm. Last night I didn't want to drink. They poured me a cup of coffee, and I didn't want to drink it, so I passed it over to someone at the table. Even just lifting that cup of coffee to the other side of the table, it hurt. And I'm having trouble, taking my shirts on and off. It's just miserable. It's miserable. And I just got the freaking hernia surgery, I got the hernia fixed. And when I get it fixed, this is going to add 10 years to my life. And this isn't subtracting 10 years. But there's something else going on, too, is that, my muscle tone is there's something wrong. There's something wrong, all over my body. It almost feels like the bicep in the other arm could go too. Just something. If anybody knows I got medical stuff, you know what that might be. Maybe I have some kind of degenerative disease. I had a friend back in Staten Island. There's this biker guy, and he was a young guy too. Beautiful wife and great kids, and lived in Midland Beach. And what do you call it? Young age, man. He had that degenerative arthritis, and that he says, in 5 years I'll be in a wheelchair. I won't be able to walk. I won't have, and just, I don't know, man. Thank God my health. I've had great health my whole life until now. First the stupid hernia, and now this, man. But I tell you, I got a hernia fix. It feels really good. Oh, boy. Okay. I tell you, I could feel this anxiety coming up again. But I did feel better talking to the audience, getting some things off my chest. But we're taking a road trip up to D.C. in January. So anybody along the way wants to hook up or something, regular listeners. And that's about it. That's about it, been noticing a lot of people were getting their YouTube channel shut down. And, mine had a strike, and I was suspended for a month from uploading. And able to just start uploading to that again now. But the landscape is changing. The days of just wild. Then again, I can't even say that because some of the more wild or crazy people, talking about UFOs, talking to aliens and all these crazy people, man. They're just allowed to go on and on and on. Do whatever they want. Hey. But, I don't know. It is kind of sad to see these guys moaning and groaning about their YouTube channel being taken down, or they got no platform, I don't know. What's the point anyway? If all you're going to be doing is just making stuff up as you report, what's reporting other stuff you see on other YouTube channels and gossip and hearsay and, and foolishness, rumors, and just wacky stuff, man. It's, no credibility. Why do you even care if you still have a channel? What are you doing with it? Nothing, And then you see some of these people got these huge giant platforms, man. They're just full of crap. Hey, I tell you. Oh, boy. I'd love to come up with a better plan than what I'm doing here. All right, guys. I'll Talk to you next week. Coming up next will be the next two shows are Mark Shaw talking about the murder of Marilyn Monroe, and then Tony Spurl talking about Manson funeral and a little bit of Bill Menser and things like that. Thank you so much. And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents, they handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Aquadam.net. Give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, having to deal with the insurance company, not to mention the memories that are lost that you can never replace. To those who live in flood-prone and hurricane-prone areas, which is just around the corner, prepare now. Hurricane season is right around the corner. Visit Aquadam.net to see how they can help you prepare to avoid flood damage this season and every season thereafter. An Aquadam can be another tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. A cofferdam, using water to control water, that can protect your home, your business, your church, your neighborhood, like a dam, but without the beavers. Give Aquadam a call at 707-764-2119, 707-764-2119, or look them up online at aquadam.net. They're also on Facebook at Aquadam Inc., or call or email them today. They can help you out. Give them a call. Tell them Opperman Report sent you. Opperman Report, that's 10% off the price to anyone who mentions the Opperman Report.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.